Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ebusia Beini. Ebusia Beini, what kind of family is this? This is a question no one ever hopes to ask, but unfortunately, far too many of us have had to. In our moments of loss, our family should have been our support system, the people we lean on for comfort and for strength. But if life has taught us anything, it is the fact that this is not always the case. Sometimes, whilst we are going through the pain of losing a loved one, we are still confronted with betrayal, drama, and sometimes even more treatment from the people we call family. A sad reality, a painful truth that many endure in silence. But right here on this channel, we say the silence ends here and now. My name is Ekia Boatsuma Boache, and today I'm joined by a very special guest who has bravely decided to share her story with us. Today, our guest is Mrs. Elizabeth Asenso Ochre. She is a retired senior management consultant, a mother, and a grandmother. Auntie Elizabeth, welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here today.
I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so Auntie Elizabeth, Ebusia Beini, before we get to the point where you had to ask yourself this question, how did it all begin? What is the genesis of your story?
Okay, I was in my teens. If I was 16 years old when my daddy passed.
Okay.
Both parents were teachers, and I mean, looking back, I think they were having some, marital issues themselves. So, at some point, my father took a transfer to Aswansi in the central region. We were then at Asinfusu.
Okay.
Yes. So my father kind of moved to this place, and not too long after, he became ill. I remember, if I was very close to my father, to the extent that, he named me after his mom.
Okay.
So in those days, there were no telephones and stuff like that. So I would write him a letter. I was then in secondary school. So I'll write, when I'm writing a letter, I'll address him as dear son. And then when he is responding, he also addresses me as dear mother. That's the kind of relationship I had with him.
Okay.
So I remember when he became sick, I think I was on vacation. He showed me, where the problem was on his side, and it was like he was due for a surgery. I said, oh, we are praying for the best. Only for us to hear that his sister had gone to take him somewhere else, seeking spiritual. Yes. So she took him, I hear, all the way up north.
Okay.
And then nothing good came out. He died. My father passed away on the 3rd of December, 1976.
Okay.
Yes, but the pain is as fresh as today. And I never can get over it, because I knew he could survive, if he could have survived if he had sought medical attention. But the sister thought that it was something else, and so they had to, and then he passed away. Then when he passed away, the Busian went to his place and literally swept everything of his from the accommodation. To the extent that the only thing that we got from my father was one copy of his passport size picture that dropped when they were taking the.
That was all.
That was all we got. It was quite painful. And so I was in secondary school when I got the news that my father had passed, and the usual Ebusian things. In those days, fridges, keeping the body for too long wasn't a thing.
Okay.
So my father passed on the 3rd of December, and he was buried on the 4th, the next day.
The next day.
Yes. So those days they would bury before they do the funeral, some months, weeks or months after.
Okay.
So the 3rd December was a Friday. I heard the news, and I had to come back from school to the house. When I got to the house, I think everybody had left or something like that. I'm not too sure. And we went to his village. I don't want to mention names, so because when I do,
That's fine.
it will be too glaring. But and mostly because now I have reconciled with them, so
Okay,
I don't want. I want to keep the name, to myself.
that's fine.
So we get there, and the treatment they were giving my mother, I was told she was taken to the garbage dump. That's where she was given a bath, and they shaved our hair,
All the children.
all the
Okay.
children, and they made us walk barefooted because our father had passed. It was quite a trauma for us. Um, and then what else? Literally, we were made to feel that we didn't belong. Mhm. That was the whole. To the extent that my father's suits were worn by his sisters and cousins to the farm. Yes, they were.
But what was the relationship with these people before the passing of your dad?
Interestingly, our home was open to literally all his nephews and nieces. Most people pass through my. You see, in those days, teachers were like, the middle class, and like they lightened, and so
The crutches.
yes, the catches and every. So like they would come for training. My mother, trained most of my cousins. I mean my paternal cousins, and but when he passed, it was as if they didn't know us. Yes. Yes, we became strangers to them. I mean, they became strangers. I mean, they didn't want to have anything to do with us. And we were literally sacked by my auntie, that's my father's sister, literally sacked, from that place. So I personally vow that I would never step in that village ever again. Until later, you remember I'm talking about 76. And I think I got married in 89. It was after marriage that I met a distant cousin, a prominent man in Ghana. And I walked to him and introduced myself to him because my father had mentioned that was his nephew in those days. So when I attended a funeral with my husband, and I met him and I introduced myself to him, and I said, I am from your village. This was my father. He said, what? And we don't know you. I said, oh, your auntie sacked us literally from. He said, no way, no way, no way. I won't take this. And that he was going to report the incident to his elder brother, who happened to be the chief.
Okay.
And he still is the chief of the police. And then, he invited me and he welcomed me so warmly. And he insisted that he would take me back to that village. I said, no way. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. But he insisted. So I think somewhere in the 90s, I've forgotten exactly which year it was. Close to December, he was going there, and he came to ask my husband that he wants to go with me, to go and show me to those women who maltreated us and made us, outcasts.
So at 16 years old, were you the eldest at that time?
I was the eldest of the girls. Okay. I mean, I was the second born. My father and mother, okay, both were divorcees, and they met. So my father had one son, and when he married my mother, gave birth to me and my younger sister. In fact, there was a brother and my younger sister, but my brother passed when he was about 4 or so years. So we're 3 children. I mean, my father left three of us. Okay. And I was the second, and the first of the girls.
Okay. So in terms of properties that your dad left behind,
really, he didn't have much.
Okay.
I know what he had was a cocoa farm. but we never saw anything from it. We never saw anything from it. So I don't know who took it. Because even his personal stuff were taken from us. So how do you expect to have anything? You know?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And that lack of support, you know, when my mother was left alone, made me in particular suffer a lot in my education.
Okay.
Because I really had to work hard. I was so determined to go to school that nothing would stop me from pursuing my education. And financial situation was bad. So I would come back from school. I would fry cocoa, red plantain and beans in the afternoon, do kelewele in the evening, to support myself. Even up to when I came to Presec as at sixth form vacation, that's what I was doing to put money together to come to school.
Wow.
Yeah.
But were there any reasons given by your dad's family for the treatment?
Oh, they were saying that because my mother is a missus,
Okay.
she will get everything of his. The most critical, even his Senate benefits were never recovered, even his Senate, because when my mother, you know, went through the documentation, everything, and the family had to sign. My auntie, that woman who took him around and he died, just I think that took the whole document or whatever and dumped it in some pit latrine or something. I mean, we never got anything. Because I remember when my senior brother passed and I was following up on his snake for his children, when we went and his name came up on the screen. I said, that's my father. Why haven't you claimed it? That mean we don't have anything in documents to support it. So the man was like, wow. I said, yes, he passed since 76, but we haven't been able to claim any of his entitlements. So we never benefited from even his own pension and stuff. We never had anything because the documentations were just dumped out of spite.
But were there any accusations? Because when you listen to some of these stories, you hear the family accusing the widow and the children of being responsible for the death of their royal. Were there such accusations?
I don't remember that one. I cannot say there were such. I don't remember because all I remember was that because she's a missus, she will have everything, and so and the something
so
like that.
They had to make sure the mom.
None of us benefited from anything of his.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've been sacked from the village, your mom and your siblings. How was life after that?
And that's that's what I was explaining to you, that life was tough because these were, both parents were teachers. Usually my mother would be a headmistress of maybe the primary, the basic, and my father would be the head teacher for the middle school. In those days, we had the old system. So that's how it was until he took a transfer and went to the station. Yes. So these were just teachers. My mother was resourceful. My mother used to sell fabrics, in addition to her teaching. And so there was that extra income coming in and all that. But that's how our family was kept. So when my father was taken off, the burden, now came on my mother. And if I remember my mother wanted me to. Okay, initially my mother wanted me to finish Form 4, the MLSC, Middle School Leaving Certificate, get that one before I go to secondary school. But I felt I was smart, so I wouldn't waste my time, and I sat the common entrance and I got a scholarship attached to my admission. So I went to secondary school. Yeah. So when my father passed, it was quite tough. So I really had to make sure I continue my education by supporting myself with some of these things. I'll do rice water early morning. I will do everything, that will bring me some kind of money to put aside, to take care of things. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a story.
Mhm, mhm.
But I do also know that you have another story when it comes to your husband.
Yes.
Would you mind sharing that with
Oh
us?
yeah, I can. I can. In fact, because of